camera. I don't see myself. Hold on, guys. I think you guys can hear me. Myself. There we go. There we go. Sometimes, well, I'll make sure you guys can hear me. Sometimes the camera doesn't actually turn on when I start the stream. But looks like we're good now. I'm going to pull up the stream on my phone and we will get started. So I see that we are live. There we go. Cool, guys. It's Friday morning, March 6th, 2026. If you're watching this in the live playback, if you're brand new to the channel, what we do here is we do a comprehensive wellness check on the crypto market. We look at other indicators like silver, gold, price of oil, Japanese bond market, US stock market. There's a lot going on right now in the world, especially with oil. This will be an oil-focused episode. Most of the episodes this week have been oil-related, and I'm sure that by this point, all of us here know why. Oil is back up again and hitting new all-time highs. We're going to be breaking it down. Before I hop into the market analysis, I'm going to quickly say good morning. So we got good morning XD3, good morning Millpower, good morning Chris, good morning Steph. So yesterday I mentioned that I'm going to try something a little different. We're just going to see how it goes. I'm going to... I had some feedback from you guys, by the way. This was pertaining to basically doing this recap that I do on the stream as its own recorded video as well. I'm not going to stop doing these, but I do think that there is some value in maybe doing once a week, maybe on Fridays, just like a weekly recap video, just to kind of hit the audience that does not tune into the streams. I'm really big into analytics. I look at the streams. I get about 300 views between the live stream and the playback per live stream. So getting around 300 to 400 views per live stream. But my normal pre-recorded videos can get anywhere between like 2,000 and 5,000 views. So there's a lot of people out there that will watch the pre-recorded content, the 12 to 20 minute long videos, but they're not tuning into the lives. I think that audience is really missing a lot of stuff that we've been covering here on this channel. So I want to give this thing a shot, just see how it goes. Don't want to say that I'm abandoning the live audience by any means, but I just want to see if I can kind of branch out and get a little bit more coverage to the people that maybe aren't seeing this kind of content. So I'm going to basically shoot that after this video. On top of that, I think I'm going to start shortening the streams to just 1 hour. That way I'm not kind of filling up a whole hour with filler. To usually kind of get through all the content that I need to show you guys within about 45 minutes to an hour. If we're having good conversation, I'm happy to go over, nothing wrong with that. But to try to like force myself to have 2 hours worth of content to talk about maybe isn't on the back half of the stream, isn't giving people, quality content. So we're going to tighten this thing up to 1 hour going forward. That also gives me a little bit more time to make pre-recorded content after the streams are done. So I think it'll be a win-win for everyone. Into the live market, we are on coinmarketcap.com. As I predicted earlier in the week, we had a rally, but I had a feeling that rally was not built to last, and it turns out it was not. So let's jump into Bitcoin. We are now looking at a second day in a row of it sliding back down. So as you guys know, and we covered this in the stream, we saw Bitcoin rise all the way up to, I want to say it was almost 74,000 on Wednesday. It's been kind of slowly trickling down since. It was pretty flat during the morning yesterday, but here we are. We're back down to 68,000. This seems to be the trend things are going for. It's like every week we get a bull trap. So I'm not convinced that the market's recovering until I've seen 5 days in a row of solid growth. And we have not seen 5 consistent growth days, really, since this period back in September. I think it was really the last time there were 5 days in a row of solid growth. Now, maybe you could argue that in December, we went from the 18th all the way to the 14th of January, had some growth there. That was short-lived. Now we're definitely down at the bottom of the bucket here. So Gonna need to see about 5 consistent days of growth before I get optimistic about the price again. So that's kind of just how I'm feeling about that. Now, this obviously does signal to me that these are good buying opportunities. Now, of course, you guys know I don't buy Bitcoin, but we do have to look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the overall market indicator until we see some decoupling. As all of us here probably know, a majority of the market basically has a chart that moves in the same patterns Bitcoin does. Makes me feel uneasy, if I'm being honest with you guys. I'm thinking like, well, how are we supposed to know which projects are better than the others if they're all trading in basically identical volumes? And you can really blame a lot of that on the exchanges that are using trading bots and algorithms to essentially hegemonize. Did I say that word properly? Hegemonize? We're going to just, yeah, I think that sounds right. They're hegemonizing the market. You know, the core word there is hegemony. I can at least say the core word. You guys know me. I struggle with words that have a lot of syllables in them. The more syllables, the harder things get for me to pronounce. That's that C+ education kicking in. So C's do get degrees, and I have a hard time pronouncing words. That's the way it is. So looking over at here at XRP, we're at a weekly low here of 135. Good opportunity to buy. I did buy some this morning. Not a whole lot. Right now I'm in my own personal space. I'm not able to contribute to the market like I would prefer to be, but that's life. If you're in a situation where you can kind of accelerate your buying, I would say a 135 XRP is very solid. I think we might be moving, guys, into that 120 territory pretty soon. I don't want to say I'm not optimistic, because in the long term I am. I think by 2030, all of this pain will be like a distant memory. Like you won't even remember it happened. But I still think there's further down to go. 2026 has not turned out to be our year. And so if you're buying in a reverse kind of way, it is your year, because this is the time for stacking. There's some people out there that if XRP were to hit $10 for them, that'd be enough. And I'm not saying that's going to be a lot of people, but it is some people. If your situation is you're looking at XRP and you're saying like, I need this to be $1,000, that's a situation where I might say that you need to accelerate your input a little bit more, because look, it's not that I don't think XRP could hit $1,000. We've all seen the math and the logic of how it could get there. But obviously $10, just simple statistics here. The probability of hitting $10 is a lot higher than the probability of hitting 1,000. So that's why I'm a big volume investor. I'm always saying, you know, get that money in there and just buy. Now that wasn't financial advice. But I do have to make that disclaimer over and over so that you don't get sued. I want to hear from you guys. Do you think it's a little weird that we have to do that? Like, wouldn't you think it would make more sense that if I was a licensed professional and if I actually was a financial advisor, that I'd come on here and give the disclaimer saying I am a financial advisor, I am licensed professional, and so due to the fiduciary client relationship, I have to inform you that what I'm giving you now is financial advice, or in order to give you financial advice, you have to become a client. Well, that would make sense to me, but as just a guy with a camera and a microphone, why do I have to tell people this is or isn't financial advice? I'm not licensed. Don't I have the right to just say whatever I want? That's how I feel about it. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I think making these disclaimers in every video, I'm going to keep doing them because you want to kind of cover your own ass a little bit, but I do just think it's kind of strange that we either have to do that or have been convinced that we have to do that. Moving down the list, HBAR cracking down. Ooh, I thought it cracked into the 8-cent region, but I guess it hasn't quite yet. But HBAR is sitting here at 9.6, so it's just shy of 10 cents. Sitting there at about 9.5 cents. I bought a little bit of HBAR this morning. I bought some Flare too. Flare is cracking in, you guys, at 8.8. I think Flare has probably had it a little harder than HBAR the past couple of days. So we got HBAR down 2% on the 24-hour. We're going to be looking at Flare next. Flare down 4%, rounding up over the past 24 hours. Now, you look at that, that's a pretty sharp fall off. Now, just so everyone knows, the all-time low for Flare that it has ever been in the history of this coin is 0.00833. And we're going to kind of zoom out and we'll look at that real quick. We're only maybe about 5% away from that all-time low. So I'm looking at this like, man, if there was ever a time to get serious, this would be it. Now, let me see if I can just drag this up. Here we go. So this would have been it. Yep. So on October 19th of 2023, Flare got down to 833. I want to tighten this up even further to see, was that really the real bottom there? Okay, so I'm seeing the lowest it was recorded here. We're doing some forensics analysis here. Like, this is the show Dexter. All right, the coin was murdered at 8288. So this is what I can see. Looks to me like the lowest that it was ever recorded was 8288, and that would have been on the 19th. And this really only lasted a day. So we can even see on the 17th of October, back then Flare was at 9/10 of a penny, got back up to 9/10 of a penny by October 22nd, and never went back to those levels again. So what's the point? Where am I trying to go with this? It's looking like if we do cross it, it's probably going to stay down there for a little bit longer. I'm looking at this like, man, if there was ever a time to be buying Flare, it is right now. And so I'm extremely bullish on Flare. I'm almost wondering if Flare is more on sale than XRP and HBAR. It's an interesting, I don't want to say there's any one right answer. Of course, buying any of those three is going to be a good move. I'm just thinking, we know where Flare is headed. We know where HBAR is headed. We know where XRP is headed. Eventually, all of this here will pass, and we're eventually going to see the good times that we all have been waiting for. But Flare has fallen the hardest of those three. So I'm thinking, gravity affects the real world. What goes up must come down. But crypto is buoyant, right? What goes down must come back up. That's what I believe. And, any of you physics majors want to correct me on that and say, no, crypto is actually not buoyant, we can have that conversation. But I think crypto is buoyant. I think what goes down must go up. And so I see that Flare has gone the downest. And so I think that its recovery will go the uppest. So that's why I'm looking at this thinking like, geez, if it were to really go, let's just say it went to 0.8 of a cent. If we go 0.8 of a cent, I'm thinking Flare might be the kind of thing it's like, now this is the part that's not financial advice. I'm looking at this thinking I might dig into my retirement, absorb the penalties and just buy an F-word ton of Flare, the kind of a Flare bag that you would never regret having. That part's definitely not financial advice, but it is what I'm thinking about doing. What's going on, Max? Where are you heading to? Max, by the way, is my friend in real life. He makes really awesome music. He's kind of like, he doesn't like my analogy, but I refer to him as kind of like a Hozier mixed with Michael Bublé. So, Max, if you want to plug your music in the chat, go right ahead. He makes really cool stuff. So, and he's also, am I allowed to say what you're going to be on? I'll let you, Max, if you're in the chat, I'll let you divulge if you want to where you're going to be in the next couple of months. I think it's pretty cool. It's going to be a TV show you guys have definitely heard of. Catching up here on the chat, we got Dynamod. Common sense isn't common. Have to accommodate the lowest denominator. I think that was in relation to the not financial statements. Marco is saying oil will definitely keep going higher. I agree. In your opinion, for how long should the oil stay around the $100 mark for the reverse carry trade unwinding? Well, I think of it as like straws being put on a camel's back. So I can't tell you which straw breaks the camel's back or how much pain and suffering can the camel endure. But all I can say is that if you keep putting straw on top of the camel's back, it's eventually going to break, right? So the two key factors going into that would be the JP10Y. If that continues to rise, which we can see on my little chart here, it's at 2.16, which is higher than it was yesterday. That's going up. And then Brent oil has essentially peaked. It's at all-time highs by a country mile as of this morning. And once we break out of the crypto charts, we're going to be taking a look at that. Good morning, Gangsta Goblin, by the way. So I couldn't tell you a timeline. All I can say is that the longer this goes on, the more dire the situation becomes, the more pressure Japan's going to feel. So, and I want to preface this. I've said it a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it so that the messaging gets hammered in. There's a good chance that we're all going to make a lot of money from this. That doesn't mean that I feel good about it. And I'm going to keep saying it. I'll say it every day if I have to. The reverse carry trade comes with some nasty side effects, and we're already seeing some of those side effects playing out in Iran. You've got war over there. I mean, people are quite literally dying. There's no way to sugarcoat that. The reverse carry trade will hit other regions in other ways. So we could see, in some cases, you know, if the price of food spikes, or if the price of water spikes, because in some places of the world the only way they get water is through desalination plants. If any of this infrastructure goes down, then you're going to see widespread famine. Then you got to also factor in that's going to increase street level crime. That's going to, you know, you might start to see civil unrest in terms of rioting. Not saying necessarily here in America. I don't think it's going to affect us that way here in the United States, but I don't necessarily want to go and get my XRP Lamborghini standing on the corpses of people all over the world in more impoverished areas. It's something that really doesn't feel good to me. So we're covering this. I think it's going to happen. I do think it's going to play out that way. And I just have to keep saying over and over, I don't feel good about it. I think it's going to happen. I think this is the way it happens. But it's one of those things where it just doesn't sit right with me. But at the same time, there's nothing any of us here in this chat can do about it. It's not like calling your senator is going to do anything at this point. So if you know how this is going to play out, you have to sort of just, it is what it is, and just grin and bear it and put your money where it's going to grow the most, even if I want to say it's dirty money, but it is dirty money. There's going to be a lot of suffering, even if the reverse carry trade unwinds, because the mounting pressure to even trigger the reverse carry trade is going to cause some of those problems. You're going to see, you know, oil prices are going to shoot up. That means food's going to shoot up. That means that some places might struggle to pay for water. It ain't like here where you can just go dig a well and drink from your well. Some places in the earth are like, really, it probably shouldn't even be inhabitable, but people do live there. And I'm really thinking kind of like the UAE when I'm thinking about that one. I can see, you know, Marco's over there in Dubai. I like Dubai. I like to go back. Well, I've never been to Dubai, but I've been to Qatar. I want to go back to Qatar. I liked it when I was there. So seeing all these things happening right now, it really kind of has me in a state of unease, because, you know, on one hand, you want to make money, but then there has to be a world to spend that money in. And I don't like the direction things are going in. Alan says, is it true the Bank of Japan stated they won't raise height? Really jumbling over this one. Is it true the Bank of Japan stated that they won't hike rates till June? Now, I haven't seen that yet, so I can't confirm or deny. Next one from GK. Good morning, by the way. Any luck looking into Consensus going IPO? No, I have not had a chance to look into that one yet. You guys ask me to look into stuff all the time. If you're in the Discord, the best way to make sure that I look into it is to send me a private message. Because otherwise, you know, it's nothing personal, but I just have so much different stuff going on between like the stream and then my normal videos that like some things slip through the cracks. But if you guys reach out to me on Discord, that's been so far the most consistent way to make sure that I follow up on some of these video requests or topics. So I'm gonna throw a link to my Discord here in the chat and we'll pin it. And that's my bad, by the way. Being organized has never been my strong suit. So someone suggested I get a virtual assistant. I looked into it. Virtual assistants aren't free, so working with what I got. If this channel gets bigger and we get, you know, I'll be honest with you guys, the monetization on a smaller channel is not enough to sustain yourself. So like, this is cool. Like, you know, if you make $1,000 a month on YouTube on top of like a normal day job, that's fine. But due to certain circumstances, that has not been how things are working out for me. So just join the Discord, send me a DM. That's the best way to make sure that I look into something if you want me to cover it for a video. Which I would be more than happy to do. I like when you guys give me video topic ideas. I do think it'd be cool to get some of you guys back in here and go through another collaborative video. I know, Iman, if you're watching, that we've been talking about doing another Flare video specifically for Kinetic, which, by the way, I got into Kinetic yesterday. We'll take a look at that here in a little bit. Deep Dave says, Andrew, reach out to Verson. Oh, that's cool. So he knows who I am then. What do you think the best way is for me to reach him? Should I... well, Deep, you and I are connected, I do believe, on either Discord or Instagram. I think that we've been talking on one of those two apps. Are we talking on... I'm on so many different things. I got half of you guys reach out to me on Instagram, the other half are on Discord. But Deep, let's definitely talk about it. As I'd like to follow up on that. I think that would be cool. So that will be something that we work on. Let's see. Aside from that, we're gonna jump over to some of the other stuff here. I'm gonna read one more comment, and then we're gonna jump over to the other charts. Dunamis says, crypto fundamentals have never been so good. The price speaks a different language, though. It feels like a ball pushed into water. Eventually it bounced back. That's what I'm saying, man. It's buoyant. You know, what goes down must come back up, right? So I have never seen more support from the technology side in crypto that there's ever been. And maybe I could go on a little bit of a tangent here. I probably won't go on too long of a tangent, but if you think back to the early eras of Bitcoin, the number one argument against it is that nobody knows what it is and nobody can explain it. And that was true for a long time. A lot of people that were in Bitcoin could not actually tell you like what it really does. They could not explain how blockchain actually works. So we've got a lot. I mean, in some ways, social media has been very good for this. We have more access to information than ever before. So now it's actually very easy to go out and actually learn how a blockchain works. Maybe I could even do a video on that to kind of help catch people up if it's been a while. But on top of that, we have DeFi now, and DeFi is quite literally the next step forward for crypto, where, you know, I'll be talking to somebody at a bar And they'll be like, well, I just don't get how crypto works. It's just imaginary space money. And I'll say, no, actually, you can use your crypto to become your own personalized bank. It's called decentralized finance. I can use my own tokens to set up borrowing and lending protocols. I can put my money into collateral pools that get used for different, crowdsourced lending applications. And then on top of that, I'm staking, I'm adding the network security. There's all these different things that I can use my crypto for that generate yield. And people at the bar still most of the time don't actually get it. But at least it's better than being able to say, monkey strong, price go up and to the right. You know what I mean? So, we're definitely moving forward in this technology space. I'm here for the technology. I know the money will come later. That I am not concerned with one bit. Now, if you guys could do me a solid before I jump to the next chart. See, there's 40 of you in here. I'm only at 18 likes. Could you guys just help me bump that up? Maybe we even get that to 20 likes. That'd be a good start. The likes do go a long way at telling YouTube that this is a stream people are enjoying, and that'll help kind of like show more people out there the stream. So if you guys could do that, greatly appreciated. Let me just see if any of you guys hopped in the any more members trying to join. No, we're all good there. So I'm going to jump over to the next chart. JP10Y moving on up. Maybe not by a whole lot, but at one point in the morning it was up to 2.17, which is the highest it's been at least for a little while. So I do believe around Valentine's Day is when it started to really start coming back down. It looks like it's on its way back up. I was predicting early in January that this thing was going to hit around 2.5 by around March or April. Seeing that it turned around in February, that's going to kind of slow that projection down quite a bit. I don't think it's going to get there quite that fast. But if this does continue moving upward, we could see around 2.5, maybe around June, July-ish area. And, I honestly think that this Iran situation is going to get, keep moving upwards, getting worse. The oil situation now, this is the wrong chart. I'm looking at crude right now. The Brent oil hit 14,000 this morning. Now it's come back down just a small smidgen, but hey, 13,981. That's basically 14,000. This is in yen, by the way. 14,000 yen for a barrel of oil. We're looking at the 7-day chart. This thing's pretty crazy to look at. I used my calculator this morning. This is a 21% rise, hence the 21% in my thumbnail. Unlike other content creators, if I'm using percents, it's a real percent that I actually mathed out myself. You guys probably have seen other content creators in this space that just make things up. Doing everything I can not to be one of those types of channel. Robert asks if you can hype the stream. I don't personally know what that means. I don't know what a hype is. But if you guys want to hype the stream, whatever that means, that would be super awesome. Just goes to show how much I do. I just shoot videos. I'm not very good at the social media side of things. So there's a lot of this stuff that, like, even for streaming, it took me like 3 weeks to figure out how to even set up the super chats, because there were like some menus you had to enable, and I was like, I know that this thing happens. I don't know how to set it all up. It's not like there's a YouTube school that teaches you how to do all this stuff. You just sort of figure it out over time, I guess. But Brent oil here just crossed the 14,000 mark. So I was thinking this thing could probably get to 20,000, and that would, I don't know, would 20,000 be enough to trigger the reverse carry trade? Because 20,000 would just about be double. I mean, we were sitting at 11 here not even a week ago, and if I look at 14 days ago, it was basically, it was around 11. So 20 would not quite be double, but it would be pretty dang close. We're seeing, let me just pull this chart back to 3 months. Okay, yeah, so there were times when the oil was below 10,000 yen a barrel. So we get to 20,000 yen here. That's going to be double the price it was from just a few months ago. I don't know about you guys, but if I were to just go to the pump and see that gas literally doubles, that would be pretty extreme. So let's just see how that plays out. I think the reverse carry trade is imminent. I just don't know exactly when it will. By the way, you guys got me up to 28, so I appreciate all the support there. I think the reverse carry trade is definitely imminent. These are all indicators to me that it's going to happen. I just can't tell you guys a date, and I don't even want to do that. Let's just cover the daily stuff. When it happens, it happens. Whether it happens 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 6 months from now. I have to imagine if this thing's going to happen, it has to happen within the next 6 months, right? I can't imagine this thing needing more than 6 months of the pot can't boil. You can't boil a pot of water for too long before all the vapor in the pot's out, right? So I have to imagine that at some point this thing is gonna hit, and it's gonna hit probably in the next 3 to 6 months, if I'm imagining. Let's see. I'm seeing some cool stuff over here on in the chat. So Steph's asking, do you not tell people about the YouTube channel on X? No, I do. So when I post videos, I'll usually share the video to X, and then I'm usually pretty active on there, engaging with other accounts. And I just got on X actually after I started streaming. So I've been on X for like, geez, I don't know, like 6 weeks at this point. I had a blank account, but I had never posted to it. I had no followers. I'm up to 150 followers on X, which I think is pretty cool considering, I mean, I literally just started it a few months ago, like, or not even that long, like 7 weeks ago. So that's pretty cool. I think X is a really good way to kind of like, in a weird way, like post a video twice, if that makes sense. Because I'll post it here, I get the whole YouTube audience, and then there's people that can watch the video on X without ever even leaving the X platform. So it's, in my mind, I'm like, all right, that's the way forward. YouTube's home base, and then X is like my satellite location. So I'm like, all right, I'll get the job done here, and then I'll push stuff to Twitter. Or X, whatever you guys, what do you guys call it, X or Twitter? I still call it Twitter, but then people will be like, no, it's X now, and I'm like, all right. Well, anyways, point being, those are pretty much the two apps I'm on right now. My Instagram is just my personal Instagram. That was a design choice because if you turn your personal account into your content, then it's like, well, now I can no longer like keep up with my friendships from high school and college, because now I have like 10,000 videos on my Instagram and none of them are like my friends. And then it's like, well, that my friends don't know me for crypto, so like they don't care about that stuff. So then it's like half of them would like be like, oh, I'm gonna unfollow this guy, all he does is talk about crypto. So my Instagram is just my personal account, but YouTube, X are the main ones. I do a little bit of LinkedIn because I know that LinkedIn people like money. I had to imagine though, most of the people on LinkedIn probably don't believe in crypto. LinkedIn has a lot of people that really love that corporate lifestyle. So I don't know, maybe LinkedIn's kind of pointless, but in some ways I want crypto to hit, just so all the managers that I had at my old company that gave me bad performance reviews can see like, oh, Andrew, you got that Lambo money from crypto. I hate him. I'm a petty person when it comes to stuff like that. So that's part of my motivation here, is to get back at some of the people that wronged me back in my professional life. I think that's probably a pretty relatable thing. Let me know. So here we are. We're at Brent. I'm going to be jumping over silver and gold. Nothing too crazy has happened here in the past couple of days. I had higher expectations out of the silver and gold market. As we covered on the stream last week, the COMEX was about to be on the hook to fulfill quite a few long contracts. There's more silver in longs than there are in the actual reserves. What I'm thinking might have happened, and I'm no fortune teller, but it's possible that some of these long contracts just got cashed in before the fulfillment date. So, I mean, think about it. If you know the writing's on the wall and your contract's up in like 2 days and you know that the COMEX can't fulfill all these orders, I bet there were some amount of people with long contracts out there that just said, you know what, I'm going to pull out of this thing, take what little profit I got and move my money somewhere else. So there's a chance that that happened, and that might be why we didn't see silver rip quite the way we thought we were going to. If you look at the 6-month chart, I mean, silver went on basically an uninterrupted bull run from 50 all the way to 120 in a matter of, like 3 or 4 months. It's unheard of. I mean, this thing was growing like a crypto. Now it's kind of been hitting this little swampy area. A lot of trickery going on with those metals exchanges, the COMEX. The price in Shanghai is still different, so there's some arbitrage there. It's a real head scratcher of how do these entities get away with doing stuff like this. I have my own ideas, but we'll kind of leave that there. It kind of gets into the conspiratorial side of things. Gold has almost the same identical looking charts, although maybe it's a little bit different. The run up for gold looked different than silver, but what I think is interesting is if you look at the 1 month chart, it's almost as if silver and gold have become the same entity. But this wasn't always the case. Silver and gold were, they're moving in semi-parallel lines, but they were not moving like in parallel. I'm looking at silver and gold. I'm seeing them move almost entirely in parallel now. This is an indicator to me that something is amiss. It doesn't logically play out because silver and gold have different uses. We know that silver is going to be very important in the future for battery production. Gold is not going to have the same importance. So how is it possible that these two are moving side by side, almost like they're boxes of cereal at Kroger? One price goes up, the other one goes up. It's like, well, hold on, no, they're not interchangeable in that way. So why are the price movements almost completely the same? So I think there's some trickery going on here. I don't think that we're trading in an honest market right now. And this is really just a microcosm of the bigger problem going on in crypto, where you look at any of the top 50 coins on crypto and they almost all have the almost exact identical trading patterns, even down to like when you see big wicks, like big candles in either direction, it almost is the exact same time, like down to the millisecond for all these different coins. It tells me something here is not going right. I just saw my mouse or my microphone shake, but I don't know why. I thought maybe my dog was down there bumping into stuff. Robert asked about the jobs report. That's a good question. I did not look into that one, but why don't we just give it a quick Google search? 2026 jobs report. Let's just see if anything did come out. All right, let's just hit this headline real quick. I can weigh in on this from a personal level, you guys, and it's a little bit of vulnerability from me, so just kind of bear with me here. U.S. payrolls unexpectedly fell by 92,000 in February. Unemployment rate rises to 4.4%. Well, I'm in it. I'm in this 4.4%, you guys. The whole reason I started this channel in the first place was because around Thanksgiving, I was in a contracting gig after getting laid off in April. I got laid off in April of last year. I got a 6-month contract. I did my contract. I was lining up a second job that was going to start after Thanksgiving, so there was going to be some wiggle room there. just for them to say they were going on a hiring freeze. That job basically evaporated. They say, we'll reach out to you when the hiring freeze is over. You guys know that never happens. So it wasn't like I did anything wrong on my part. In fact, I do believe I would have gotten that job if they didn't do the hiring freeze. So in a way, I'm kind of like up Poops Creek without a paddle here. I start the YouTube channel and you know, I've been looking for work too. I mean, I'm doing this to kind of like keep the boat afloat. I'll still do this after I find something, by the way. We just might have to change when the streaming happens. I know some of you guys in Europe are, you know, that you might be asleep for that. I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of make everybody happy, but you can be on content creation full time once you've hit critical mass, but it's not really a good plan to start from scratch and try to take it full time. I was doing that more out of necessity, not because like it was like a passion project of mine. But I digress. Unemployment's up, hiring freezes everywhere. I don't know, it's rough, man. And then you look at the stuff going on in Iran. It's like, is this going to make unemployment even worse? If oil is spiking hard, that's going to make things more expensive, and then of course, jobs are going to have to start cutting more engineers. That's how it always goes. So, I don't know. I mean, we're in a tumultuous time right now. And I have to imagine that the unemployment rate's probably still kind of skewed a little bit. I wonder if content creators are going like against the unemployment report, since you are technically making some money. But doesn't it kind of speak to an issue that people like myself are thinking that it's more likely to make it in content creation than it is to go back and get a regular job and have a regular career? Because we can't all be content creators. You can't have an entire society of people that do nothing but talk into microphones all day. There has to be real jobs out there. And I wouldn't mind having a real job and just doing this as a side hustle or a side project. But I think it speaks to a greater issue that we have some serious infrastructural problems here in the United States. I'm sure there's some, and I'm sure it's the same situation in other countries as well. But I can just speak from personal experience. The state of the union is not well. Brenny says, everything will get worse before it gets better, but when it gets better, it'll be glorious. I do agree with that. I think that we're in the hard times right now, and that these hard times will not last forever. So I just ask that everybody hang in there. I know times are getting tough, and they're getting tougher. At least the weather will be getting warmer, so... if you're in bad times, at least you can just go to the park and just lay in the grass or something. Can't do that when it's snowing outside. But it's like, well, no matter how bad things get in the summertime, you can always just go hang out outside. I'm not saying it's gonna get to that level. I'm not gonna be homeless anytime soon. But what's going on, Frogman? You know, I'm in a fortunate position where, before I ever got into crypto, I was into financial independence. So I was already along on my journey. I've got time to figure all this stuff out, but I know there's people that are out there losing their jobs that are literally paycheck to paycheck. And I don't know what they're going to do. Like, if you're paycheck to paycheck and everything is all these jobs are on hiring freezes, it's like, well, you either, go get a serving job, or maybe you work in construction, or maybe you start bagging up trash and throwing it in the garbage truck. I mean, it could come to that point. Now for me, I had 10 years as a software engineer, so it's kind of like old dog new tricks kind of thing. If I were to transition to the trades, it's like, well, not only am I in my mid-30s doing an entry-level trades job, now I'm also taking that trades job away from like a 22-year-old kid. So like, that's not exactly a great solution either. I'd rather just stay in the software engineering space. That's kind of where, it's where I got my 10 years of experience. It's what I'm good at. But nothing's hiring, dude. And the ones that are hiring, they're going to hire someone who will do the job for $50,000. And they won't have American citizenship. Anyways, that's my little monologue here. I won't read this whole article. I'm just kind of blasting through it. But yeah, job report, not good. Unemployment's going up. The cost of oil is going to, mark my words, the rising cost of oil is going to cause more unemployment. And that'll be in the United States too, by the way. So just kind of brace for that impact. Let's go over and pop in. Let's see how this S&P 500 is looking. Open down on the day, almost an entire percent. So it's a red day for the U.S. stock market. It's been mostly a red week for the market as well. Now we're gonna be on a 5-day average. The S&P 500 is gonna be closing red. So, don't tell Pam Bondi, whatever you guys do. Do not tell Pam Bondi. We are under 7,000. The Dow is no longer at 50,000. So maybe we do need to start talking about those files again. But that's a topic for a different channel. Stock market's back down. We're going to be running through my Flare spreadsheet here in a second. But I just want to go over here. I like doing this. This is fun for me. By the way, I should probably screenshot this. Maybe I'll just start over because I didn't write the dates down. I like to go to the XRP rich list, take a screenshot of it, and then just say what day it was when I took this. And then one day, this will be like your high school yearbook where you open it up and be like, wow, I can't believe the market used to look like that. So let's just say XRP rich list, March 6th, or actually March 5th. Because we took this, we did this yesterday. I'm going to hit the refresh button and we're going to see where things land. Right now, if you want to be in the top 1%, you need 46,100. Let's see if it's dropped into the 99s at all. Oh, look at that. Dropped down to 46,080. So that dropped 20 in one day. So I know that, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not doing this as like a competition, but as rather a way to show people the scarcity here. So every single day, XRP gets a little bit more scarce. Every single day, more wallets open up. So the total number of wallets is increasing. That's why the total number of like 1%ers is going down, at least in terms of the balance, because it's like weighted, right? So all these new wallets are pulling the weight down. As long as you're not trading your XRP on a regular basis, you just buy and hold. Like that's what I do. I've never sold a single XRP since I've been buying it. This number will keep going down and down, and the reason it matters is because if you think about it just in simple mathematics, that miracle dollar that you need XRP to be, well, it's going to hit for the people with 1% before it hits for the people at 10%. I mean, it's just simple math, right? Even if XRP goes to $10, the people that are holding at the top 1% are going to be holding $500,000 in XRP. That's pretty nice. If you're in the top 10% and it goes to $10, well, it's cool still, but like, okay, cool, you got $20,000. Like, it's cool, but what are you going to do with $20,000? It can buy you time, but it can't buy you life. And I'm hoping that you're not spending that on jewelry or cars. Not that $20,000 will get you very far, even in that category. So I know there's some people out there in this top 1% that you're probably not going to have too many individuals here, but there are a couple. I mean, if the XRP goes to $10, there's people out there that are going to have $3 million in XRP from a $10 XRP. Not a whole lot of them out there, but I'm just kind of putting this out there. When the opportunity is good right now at $1.35 XRP to just really start stacking hard, when this thing does start to move again, you might not actually need it to move that aggressively. Like getting a 10x on XRP might be all that some people need, especially if they've been very aggressive with their contributions. I've been pretty aggressive, but I try not to say how aggressive because I don't want people thinking like, oh, he's doing it, so I'm going to do it. I've done some pretty risky stuff to make all this work for me. And you know what? I took a big gamble and then I ended up unemployed. But I will not sell my, I will quite literally live out of my truck before I sell my XRP. I'm not selling this. I'll give my house back to the bank. I don't care. I'm not selling my XRP for nothing. I could make it with me, my dog, and my truck and a laptop. I could stream from an underpass in Tampa if that's what it takes. I did move a considerable amount of my retirement into XRP. And if you do the math on that, let's just go and look. You do the math on that. The XRP ETFs went live in November, so that means you know that at best case scenario, I'm buying a bucket load of XRP at around that 225 to 250 range. That's all retirement account money, by the way. So I'm in it, bro. I'm in it. We're burning the boats behind us. None of that was financial advice, but when this thing turns around, that's, you know, then I'll, what do we care if it goes to 15, 20 bucks? I will stop filling out job applications and then I'll just stream because it's fun. But we're not there yet. So anyways, that was a long tangent there. I just like to look at the rich list. I'll take another screenshot of this thing. Someday we'll make a collage out of this. Maybe it'll be a video. It'll be like high school graduation. Let's go and look at all the photos, everyone. So XRP rich list March 6th. All right, we're good to go. And then there's other rich lists out there. You can do this with, you know, the Flare one. There's also the HBAR rich list. I tried looking at the quant rich list. The quant one isn't as good as the other three are. I think the Flare rich or the XRP rich list is the best. These are all like fan, or I don't want to say fan. These are all community made projects, by the way. So like the rich list is not made by Ripple. The Flare rich list is not made by Flare. It's a community driven project. So just so you guys know that. Hopping over to my Flare spreadsheet, I do believe we're going to be getting the delegation reward today. So let's hop in and take a look. I'm going to hit refresh and that should show up something here. There we go. So we got 50 FLR for my delegation. I bet staking's still going to be 0. Not expecting a stake reward until we hit this highlighted box here on March 12th. Now 50, you know, I'm wondering here because I actually think 50 is almost overperforming. I'm not sure that it makes sense for me to be getting 50 on my epochs, but I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to say that it seems a little bit high. And I'll pull out the handy dandy calculator here in a second and show you guys why I think that. I just got to add to my evidence folder. This is good practice, by the way. I used to work for a consulting firm. And when you collect your evidence for any sort of go live, you always got to have screenshots. So it's kind of carried over into my YouTubing as well. This way you guys know down the line, he's like, well, how do we know these are real figures? You can go to the screenshots tab. Be like, oh, this guy wasn't bullshitting. He on Epoch 376, he really did claim 50.55. At some point, I'm probably going to make this a public document that you guys can download and do whatever you want with. I'll probably have it display only, but at least you can look at it and yeah. So we'll do this, and then we're going to do this. There we go. So we got that one. Now I'm going to pull out the calculator. I think there's something off about this. So where's the calculator? I have to open it up. All right. So I've got 50.11. I'm going to divide this by 50,656. Okay. Now we know that there's 104 epochs a year because we do this on the channel pretty often. So I'm going to multiply that by 104. And then I'm going to multiply it by 100 one more time so we get our percent. So if this is right, and I'm hoping you guys are able to follow along what I just did there. If I'm looking at this correctly, my epochs are giving me 10.28%. That's way higher than what I should be getting. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm not going to say like, oh, you're paying me too much. Stop paying me what you're paying me. I'm not going to do that, but I am looking at this thinking, this just looks a little bit too high. So we'll keep tracking this. I'm wondering if we'll eventually see this come back down because I've never heard of a wrapping reward being 10.28%, but whatever. I'm obviously not going to give the tokens back. So if they're going to give me 10%, I'm going to take it. But I am just letting you guys know that something seems off. It seems too good. And I always say if something seems too good to be true, it usually is. So let's see if down the road we might miss some delegation rewards or it might pull back a little bit. We're going to have to keep an eye on that because things aren't totally adding up right now. Looks like it wants me to connect. I'm going to now connect to Flare assets. Let's take a quick look at how my, what's it called? Let's take a look at how my collateral's doing. There we go. I see some movement there from Mill. Let me connect my wallet and then I'll look at what you're saying. So you are collecting 0.1% every 3.5 days. That's 0.8% every 30 days or 9.6 every year. But compounding it makes it around 11% per year. Yeah. So it's do you agree that seems a little high? I mean, I'm not going to complain, but the numbers to me seem too good to be true if I'm just giving my honest input here. I would wonder if that means at some point there's going to be some pullback. But you're not going to hear me complain about getting paid more than I was expecting. So I'm going to refresh my Mystic here. Mystic, I haven't really been that happy about. So I'm up to 403 on Mystic. That's actually... Hold on. Yesterday I was at 341. Now I'm at 403. Let's take a look because the APY might have gone back up then. Okay, so the APY here on Core FXRP is now up to 1.49. It's coming back up. I'm still not happy about that percentage, but it is higher than the 1.2 that it was earlier this week. So that is a step in the right direction. Now the APY is still 0. So just so you guys know, the only thing I'm getting out of my Core FXRP right now is the RFLR rewards. So the native APY is at 0. I don't really know what the deal is with that. But obviously, if you're gonna be lending out your FXRP, you want something in return, right? Because they're gonna be doing something with it. Why am I getting 0? I don't really understand that yet. But we're just gonna keep hanging on here and see how this plays out. I did get into Kinetic So we'll take a look at the Kinetic rewards next. I'm just going to finish out the Flare side of this spreadsheet here. Look at this Flare price. I feel dirty just typing this into the computer here. 0.883. Wow. Well, hey, it is what it is, right? Looking at my collateral for minting, let's see what we got here. I'm up to 0.43. So you guys, we are almost at an XRP, or half an XRP being generated. That's pretty cool. Now, these aren't new XRP tokens. I hope everyone realizes that they're the Flare, or the XRP that is in the vault, already exists. It's just I'm getting a small reward from that pool. It's not new Flare, or it's not new XRP. So as long as everybody knows that, we should all be good and on the same page there. So I'm going to hop over to Kinetic and let's just take a look. It's only been in there for a day, so I can't imagine much has happened there. Here we go. Kinetic. Launch on Flare. By the way, you guys, please, for the sake of your accounts, please save these to your favorites bar so that you never end up clicking the wrong link. There are so many faulty links out there. I hate that we have to do this kind of stuff. But if you're going to be involved in DeFi, you've got to be very careful, because you lose your stuff, no one can help you get it back. It's not like calling Chase or calling, Liberty Mutual or whatever and saying, hey, I had this fraudulent charge, can you back it out? Once your stuff's gone, it's gone. So please just save these to your bookmarks so that you don't ever have to get to them the first time and then never type it into Google again if you don't have to. And if you do type into Google, just make sure that the app is kinetic.market. There's no hyphens. There's no EM dashes. It's just kinetic.market. So here we go. I'm on my dashboard here. I've got 500 FXRP in here. So I've supplied around 700 bucks. Now, I'm not borrowing, so I'm just supplying. I'm just hanging out here. I don't really like borrowing. It's not maybe we'll try it someday down the road, but for me, I'm not really interested in being a borrower. I'd rather be a lender. I know that some people say, like, oh, if you borrow on your assets, you don't have to pay taxes, and that's fine. What happens when the market collapses and now you owe back all the loans? It's like, okay, well, that's a way you get liquidated, right? So you did all of that to avoid paying taxes, which is fine. I don't like paying taxes either. But then you get liquidated on your loan, and now you're back to where you started with no money. So I'm not saying not to do it, but I'm saying that I am the juice is not necessarily worth the squeeze. Just because Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book about it doesn't mean that it's a foolproof way to do business. So just kind of keep that in mind. APY right now on FXRP is 2.59 here on Kinetic, so it is higher than Morpho. Still not quite as high as I'd like it to be, but it is. If we're saying which one's better, pound for pound, currently Kinetic is beating out Mystic. So that's where, if things keep moving here, I'm probably going to park my more money here on Kinetic than what I do on Mystic. But I like having the options. Now, let's see what the reward is. I'm not going to necessarily claim it. I just want to see what it is. So accumulated emissions assume accordance with Flare emissions, new anti-looping rules. So what would this be? I'd claim it in Flare, I think. Okay, yeah. So my next rewards would be 5.4 RFLR. So it looks like no matter what, if you're on Mystic or if you are on Kinetic, it does look like you're getting rewarded in RFLR, which is pretty consistent with what we see over here. So this over here is also our FLR. So that's cool. I could claim these. I haven't. I feel like if I claim them, they might kind of. Should I claim them? What do you guys think? Should I claim these and just put them as wrapped flare? I mean, we could just do that. Otherwise, these are tokens just sitting there not doing anything for me. I'll think about it. We won't do it tonight, but I will consider it and just kind of go back and forth on it. Chris says, have you pulled out of Mystic? Whenever I try to claim, it opens my wrapped flare page on Flare Network. I can show you exactly what's going on there. So check this out. I'm not going to actually claim it, but I'm just going to show you what would happen if we did. So, oh, I didn't finish this, by the way. Let's make sure we finish this. I'm glad that you brought me back here. Hang tight because we are just about to answer your question. All right, cool. There we go. Look how easy it is. Bifrost wallet, for what it's worth, very, very, very nice with the Flare website. So here's where you got to go, Chris. Over here on the emissions tab, click on emissions, go to select project. You're not going to see it right away, but if you scroll down here, you'll see Mystic, boom, claim 230 FLR. So I could claim this. I'm not going to claim it yet. I'm just going to let it sit there for now, but that's how you would do it. So just to retrace how I got here, I'm on the account tab. Right here, it's set to main account. Click on emissions, and then from the drop down of the project, select whatever you're working with. By the way, you could go to Kinetic, you could go to Mystic. I see Spectra's on here. I see SparkDex is on here. So whenever you've got emissions to claim, this is where you're gonna do that at. Let's see here. So I think I got through all of this. I'm gonna look at Kinetic one more time. I don't know what Joule is. I know that in college we used to everyone had a Joule, but now that everyone's moved on from that, I haven't heard Joule. I don't see Joule. I'm seeing Joule on this website, but I'm not gonna buy it. So I'm just here for the Flare and the XRP, but I'm assuming Joule is probably Kinetic's coin. I'm just putting two and two together. Kinetic has a pink ribbon here. The Joule coin is a pink coin. It's like, you know, this is just pattern recognition at play here. So I'm assuming that Joule is Kinetic's native coin. They're probably like, hey, we built this thing for you, Flare. Could you kind of consider buying our token? The thing about it is, just because Flare's gonna do very well doesn't necessarily mean that Joule is. And I'm totally appreciative of the platform, by the way. But as an investor, I'm gonna put my money where I think it's going to be the most lucrative, and that's gonna be Flare for now. But you could get a pretty solid bag of Joule for it being as cheap as it is, just to find out. I mean, even putting $100 into this thing would get you like thousands upon thousands of Joules. You might even get like 1 million out of it. I don't know. It'd be up to you guys if you want to do that. Otherwise, I'm sticking with Flare and XRP. A pretty cool app. We'll see how this thing plays out. Firelight's supposed to go live in 2 weeks. We'll see if that one actually comes true. I wish they were a little bit more transparent with us. It's been since December 3rd, so you know, I believe in this space, so I'm pretty forgiving, but I would like to get some more communication out of the developers. So that's just a personal critique I have. Otherwise, I do like what they're building over there. I think I've gotten through most of the stuff I was going to share. We're a little bit, so I'll probably every day just go to noon, and if we go over, we go over, but I probably will no longer just go to 1 just to go to 1. So we'll look at a few more things here and then start winding things down. Poly market shows 71% chance. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Poly market's shown a 71% chance of Clarity Act getting signed. I still think this is going to happen. I just don't think it's what we want it to be. I did a video on that earlier this week if you want to hear my thoughts on that. I think that this is a Trojan horse. Yes, it's going to make the price go up, but it's going to be at the cost of your privacy and some of your financial freedom. So if all you cared about was just getting paid, maybe you don't care. Maybe it's not a big deal. To me, it's a pretty big problem. So I don't know. On some hands, on one hand, I'm almost like, well, maybe we're actually better off if it doesn't pass. I'm going to open up Hashpack real quick. As you guys can see, the staking here has been pretty good. I haven't, I'm too lazy to go get my cold wallet to plug it in the computer to claim a microscopic amount of HBAR, so I haven't claimed it on here. But I am claiming my HBAR on Hashpack every single day on my phone, which has, I think, almost 20,000 staked at this point. Oh, now I have 12,000. Shouldn't be too hard to get this thing up to 20. But you can see there, I got rewards history. I don't know if it's going to pop up on my phone screen very well, especially considering that, you know, let me just change the layout real fast so that you guys can actually see this better. Yeah, there we go. So you guys can see right here, if the camera focuses, you're seeing I'm getting just shy of a whole token every single day. It's been pretty nice. Not really like, you know, you're not going to the Bahamas on a 2.5% yield, but from what I can see, there's not a lot of opportunity cost for having your HBAR on Hashpack. I've been on it for a week now, so it's not like I've got years worth of reliable experience here. But it does seem secure. I'm claiming the rewards. They're ending up in the wallet. It does seem like pretty reliable, at least my 1 week experience on it. I'm starting to wonder, is there really any opportunity cost to sticking these into Hashpack? The longer I'm on it, the more comfortable I am with having my HBAR there. So I'll probably start moving more and more over. That said, 2.5%, maybe not the greatest, but you know, if it's just going to be sitting in a cold wallet, not doing anything, why not at least consider getting your 2.5%? So that's going to be a decision for you guys to make, but I'm leaning more towards the, well, if my stuff's just sitting there and this thing's perfectly safe, then I may as well take my 2.5%. Not that it, you know, it's not going to turn into much, so it's like, I mean, it's not really missing much either. But if you want to maximize your output, that's a good way to start doing it. Otherwise, I mean, you guys know me, man. I love my Flare spreadsheet, collecting my 50 tokens every other or every 4 days. Now, if you guys can imagine, this is my YouTube wallet. I don't mind you guys seeing this stuff. I have another wallet with more Flare on it, so my delegation there is a little bit more juicy, and then my stake rewards are pretty juicy too. So for me, the idea, if you can keep maintaining 10% APY on the Flare network, let's just hypothetically say that you had 1 million Flare and Flare was $1, just using the easy numbers, so that way it's like easy to extrapolate. I mean, you could be pulling out 100K USD a year without ever selling a token out of a 1 million Flare bag at $1. Again, just using some easy numbers here. Do I think it's going to get to $1 eventually? Do I think it's going to be anytime soon? Probably not. But within 10 years, definitely. Maybe 5 if we're very lucky, we'll get to 5. hold on, I didn't say that properly. If we're lucky, we'll have $1 flare within 5 years. That's how I meant to say that. But I mean, if you're going to be in this in the long haul, like I'm in my 30s, I plan on being in crypto, obviously, in my 50s and my 60s. You think about a 20 to 30 year timeline. Yeah, I'm not worried one bit. This stuff is gonna, it's gonna be more than $1. There'll be a time when you look back and be like, man, I could have bought Flare at $1. Yeah, I mean, guys, it's hard for me sometimes to articulate how early we really are, even though I think most of you guys probably agree. So I'm going to just pop into Twitter, see if there's any last minute news for us to look at. Otherwise, I'm going to start winding things down, have a nice lunch, and then oddly enough, I'm probably actually going to reshoot this video, just not as a stream. I probably only do the market part. I probably won't do the Flare spreadsheet and like the kinetic and all that stuff. But I'll probably at least bop through and be like, here's the market, here's the JP10Y, here's the silver, the gold. I just want to see how people respond to that, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't watch the streams but do watch my regular stuff. So we're just going to see how that one goes. You know, feel free to watch it if you want, but it's going to be stuff that you guys already saw. So just kind of be aware of that. Ooh, we got something here about Firelight. I'm just going to kind of give this thing a 1-2 real quick. I'm just seeing this for the first time. There's nothing that I am more about at Firelight. I think he's missing the word excited. Well, now you could throw any word in here. There's nothing that I am more hateful more about it. There's nothing I am more worried about. You got to come in here and edit that, man. Well, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, you definitely don't want to leave that one up to interpretation. But here we go. Further down the line. The use cases are insane, and my team reminds me of them way too often. Okay, well, this is cool. This is a long post, so I'm going to just kind of breeze through it and see if we can get any information we didn't already know. The Firelight vision, we are refactoring insurance from a service into a protocol. Okay, I like to hear that. Here's what happens when you turn safety into an API call. Okay, the compostable yield. There we go. That's what I want to hear about. Let's see what this has to say. In TradFi, you cannot programmably combine a high-yield corporate bond with a credit default swap. With Firelight, a developer can build a wrapped vault. Okay, we are somewhat familiar with that already. The smart contract takes a user deposit, routes it to a 10% yield farm. Does that mean that he's saying we're going to be getting 10% yield on our FXRP? That is something I'd like to see. Okay, so this paragraph right here is saying that if the yield is 10%, the Firelight's keeping 2%, and then us as the user are getting 8%. So it sounds like they're taking a 20% platforming fee. I'm okay with that. It makes sense, right? They build the app. Obviously, they want to make money on it. Number two, their programmable execution. The auto reject parameter in audit is passive. You cannot write a script that reacts to a PDF. Because Firelight prices dynamically, developers can use that as a trigger. I'm not going to read the whole paragraph. It seems like some of this stuff is a little too wordy for reading it out loud. It's kind of like when Han Solo or Harrison Ford told George Lucas, he's like, you can write this, but you can't say it out loud. Let's see here. Foundation for agentic economy. We are rapidly moving towards a world where the majority of DeFi capital will be managed by autonomous AI agents, not humans. Okay, I do agree with that. But AI agents cannot read a team's reputation. They cannot field trust based on VC banker. Okay, this is a long post. If he's saying that we're going to get 8% on our FXRP, that's cool. That's basically all I needed to know, but we'll see if that is true. Oh, this guy's cool, by the way. 33. I pretty much talk to him frequently on X. Go ahead and check him out if you're on Twitter. He's got a lot of cool stuff. I think he's similar to me in that he's on the creator side of things, so he's not like with Flare, but Kind of running parallel lines there. Hugo doing more interviews. Let's just pop in, see what he's got to say. Maybe I'll do one or two of these, and then we're gonna wrap the video, the stream up.
You don't want to be hidebound to your native token having value only because of it being a brand related to a chain. You want it to have organic economic value, and that means at some point changing the way the token works, because we know that transaction fees is essentially unlikely to bring excessive value to the token over the long
term. Okay, that was cool, I guess. It's almost a little too short for any real substance there. I agree. I mean, I agree with that. I think the video itself could have maybe been a little longer. Here we go. Hugo reposted this 2 hours ago. I like looking at charts here. So F assets on the Dune dashboard has been updated. Now you can check smart accounts activity in one place. This is good to know. Looks like wow, 17.8 million FXRP minted by smart accounts. Now, would that smart account mean would that smart account mean on Zaman? By the way, if you guys haven't listened to this, I'll post the Twitter link to it. It's an hour and a half, so I haven't listened to it either, but maybe I should. I don't have Zaman. I've already got Bifrost, so for me it feels a little bit redundant to have Zaman, but I think some of you guys do have Zaman. So ooh, Johnny says the yellow network is interesting with FLR. Are you referring to this yellow media? I guess I could take another look at them. I'm gonna read Mills because I see that I've missed all of these. Millpower says, Andrew, wrapping and delegating on Bifrost is earning me 330 wrap flare every 3.5 days. What I have noticed is if the the WFLR remains delegated with price Kraken, the amount moves up about 1% each new epoch. So each week, the amount moves up about 2%. The price of FLR also impacts it, but my yield generally moves up each week. So 8% a month means a doubling of yield every 9 months. IOW, I don't know what that acronym is off the top of my head. If you want to clarify what IOW means, I think there may be a compounding bonus for leaving the FLR wrapped and delegated with and to price Kraken. Well, I think that probably applies to all the FTSOs, which is an interesting thing that I actually hadn't really thought about. Was just the compounding effect of your wrapped flare going up every 3.5 days, even if it's by like small increments. But we can even see that on my spreadsheet, right? So I have these wrapped flares. You can see that, you know, I started this thing on February 1st with 50,000. Now on this, I'm up to 50,650. So I have an extra 650 wrapped tokens that I didn't have at the start of this experiment, which are adding to the epoch pool. So, I mean, not only do you get the compounding effect of having yield, but you have the compounding effect of your yield also giving you more yield. So it's sort of just like this positive feedback loop that the longer you hold this in here, the quicker this thing will accelerate. Now, you have to wait probably a couple of years before the acceleration actually becomes noticeable. But, I mean, we've only got 50,000 in here. Can you guys imagine if you had 1 million flare wrapped and instead of getting 50 a week, you're getting 1,000. So if you're getting 1,000 flare every single week and then it goes up, you can even see the incremental increases. That would get pretty out of control after like 3 or 4 years of this. So I'm pretty excited about Flare, you guys. I'm looking at Flare and I'm thinking like, man, this might be like quite literally the thing to buy right now. I'm going to go through 1 or 2 more Twitter posts and I'm going to start wrapping. We actually did go pretty long today. We're at 12:30, so this is pretty good. Millpower saying getting 660 FLR a week. That's pretty solid. Do you have any staked yet? I think we talked about it, but the staking. So I talked to someone who I think might actually have some good insight on this. The staking gives you the epoch on top of the staking. So like if you're staking with Price Kraken, whatever you would normally get from the epoch is going into your staking reward on top of the staking reward, if that makes sense. And that would be why staking is in like the 10 to 12% ranges. So that could be pretty cool, something to look at, is just moving more and more into staking if you're comfortable with it. Now, of course, that means you wouldn't get the... that would mean that you don't get the compounding effect every 3.5 days, because I think what you claim would end up in your wrapped pool. It'd be interesting to kind of spreadsheet that out and see how that one goes. But then you'd have to really have some good formulas. Something to think about, though. I'm not on SparkDex at all, so I can't speak to SparkDex. But I do think the staking on the Flare... did I seriously not claim this yet? I had to have claimed this, right? I swear I claimed this on the stream. Did it not go through? Yeah, okay, there it goes. I think staking right here is pretty nice. Now, I know that there's also staking on Scepter. I'm going to try that out soon enough, but I haven't tried it yet. I'm probably going to put my money into Kinetic first, just because I wouldn't mind getting some Flare into Kinetic. I just kind of like seeing the 9% APY for Flare seems pretty nice. But I know that Scepter is also a thing, so I'll probably eventually get into all of them. I just need more time to accumulate to make those things happen. So we're just going to hit 1 or 2 more things, see if we got anything interesting to see here. And if we don't, we're probably going to wrap for the weekend. XRP holders, you're leaving it on the table. Yeah, I would get that FXRP. At least you're getting a little bit of something out of it. I do agree with this statement. While everyone's still stuck in complicated DeFi, this vault is printing passive income with 3.4% APY with military grade security. If any of you guys are on Zaman and can tell me how it is, I'd love to hear it, because I don't have Zaman I feel like I've already got enough wallets, but if it is better, I could see it. I could see myself getting it and moving stuff on there, but if it's the same opportunities you're getting elsewhere, I probably wouldn't, just because it'd be redundant for me to do so. I'll probably watch this interview later, but
you don't want to be
30-minute interview. I won't watch this on the stream. I feel like unless you guys really want me to. If you guys really want me to, I can watch this on stream, but otherwise we'll probably watch this some other time. I guess I'll start it. It didn't hurt. Don't hurt. I'll start it. If you guys want to watch it, you can watch it. Or if you guys want to... Once I'm done watching this, I'm definitely done streaming. So it's up to you guys. I'm going to watch this thing. If you want to hang out, hang out. If this isn't your cup of tea, there's not going to be anything after this. So do as thou wilt.
Hidebound to your native token having value only because of it being a brand related to a chain.
Hi, it's Shyla from Yellow, and today I'm joined by Hugo from the Flare network. So can you tell us a bit about Flare?
So Flare is a layer 1 blockchain. I suppose a key fundamental difference between Flare and other blockchains is that we've enshrined data protocols into the network, meaning that we have a pricing system and an events system, i.e. We get data from other blockchains and from Web 2, and every validator on Flare contributes to both of those protocols, and the network does not reach consensus unless it has the majority of validators agreeing that a particular event or a price has happened. And so that's our fundamental difference. And what we've built with that so far has been a system that we call FXRP, which is Flare XRP, really with the goal of building out an end-to-end ecosystem for XRP DeFi. And we've taken on and used business development to get people to develop lending protocols, perps dexes, CDP protocols, and incubated something called Firelight, which is kind of a novel staking protocol which does DeFi cover for the broader DeFi ecosystem across multiple chains.
I hope this corny music doesn't get me hit with anything. By the way, I'm not gonna really interrupt these guys much. I'm just gonna let them talk. I just wanted to say that one thing. Aside from that, we're just gonna chill and hang out.
Your community is very well. You've garnered a lot of the XRP community, and is because the Flare network is bringing DeFi capabilities to XRP network. Would you explain it in any other way?
I'd say we're bringing DeFi capabilities to XRP.
Yeah.
And to later on down the line, 2 assets issued on XRP ledger. We can't directly bring DeFi to the XRP ledger itself. So it's a mild distinction.
So now, even in 2026, we're finding that interoperability isn't quite where we want it to be, and we're still relying on multi-sigs or small validation sets. Do you think that decentralizing external data can be solved, and do you really think that decentralization of off-chain data is even achievable?
So I definitely think it's achievable because I think Flare has broadly achieved it. I think there are categories of data to which decentralization is applicable. For instance, for crypto prices that you're drawing from other networks or exchanges, you can get quite decentralized with that. If you have, as Flare has 100 validators all contributing to our system, the Flare time series oracle. For stock prices, for instance, immediate stock prices, you only have a couple of feeds. Especially there's like one feed from NASDAQ. There's sort of not much point in decentralizing that because you already have a single point of failure anyway. We wanted to be able to have maximal decentralization because that gives you maximal trustlessness when building, a bridge for, say, XRP or Bitcoin or anything that is fundamentally decentralized. So I think to answer your question succinctly, yes, I think it's achievable. Why do I think people are still relying on more centralized sets, even for data that is in categories that could benefit from decentralization? I think it's easy. And I think, engineering is really hard. And, budgets for infrastructure are not that high. They've never been that high, and it's really expensive. And so I think people just go for the path of least resistance, which is a degree of centralization. And I think, Flare is not competing to be a data provider on lots of different chains. That's not our goal, and there's not really enough money in it, frankly. It wouldn't be of benefit to the project were we to try to do that. Our goal has always been to create products that we are comfortable with from a security and decentralization perspective, and that's really where our data protocols have come in. we will have announced that we're launching something called Smart Accounts, which allows an XRP holder to do things on Flare directly by making a transaction on the XRP ledger. So they effectively create an intent on the XRP ledger, and that then feeds through onto Flare through Flare's data protocols. Now, if you want that intent to be executed properly, you have to have a data protocol that is going to observe that, and you have to be comfortable with the security of that data protocol. I would be less comfortable with it being a centralized set. That's kind of the reasoning behind what we're doing.
Okay, great. Thank you for the explanation. And it's exciting to learn about the roadmap basically for what you've got going on with Flare. And the next one, I know that somebody told me that you've got a quite a strong background in like LLMs and AI.
Less so LLMs. They came out far after I studied AI. And to be honest with you, I only did a master's.
Okay.
It's not bad, but I have PhDs on our team that have far more experience in AI than I do. And I've got a working knowledge. I understand how the systems work, but I'm not a genius in it.
Oh, okay. Well, this question is sort of like aimed at...
I suppose I can speak to it because, I got to keep up with the industry, and I'm quite interested in building something in AI relatively soon.
Agentic AI, they've become a lot more independent, by nature. They executing autonomously. So rather than just having, AI agents suggesting a trade, they're now like executing. So do you think that blockchains should be moving more towards becoming a trust layer for these AI systems?
I know that people are talking about this. I'm not certain I understand what trust layer means at this point. I don't know what you're trusting. Are you trusting the LLM? And I think that's a good start.
Yeah.
So we already actually have within our Flare AI kit a way for you to verify that you're using a particular LLM, particular version of that LLM, and to verify that no one's tampering with that. So, obviously if you go to a provider of, let's say, an agent for trading or for, any other purpose with regards to how your money is used, you're probably, unless you're you're downloading that LLM, inspecting it and hosting it on your own machine, you're probably using a hosted service, at which point the owner of that service can change the parameters. I think that's where the issue lies. I think there's a second issue in that I think LLMs are probably, I would say, the lack of precision you get from LLMs can be a little scary when it comes to dealing with money. In fact, that's kind of where we would like to go, not with regards to money. There's actually much bigger industries to tackle, like healthcare or law, where precision is really important. And I think that takes a very different direction from what you're seeing with on-chain agents and this kind of stuff. But I think verifiability is not that complex. We already have an operational TE attached to Flare. You can verify that a particular agent is in fact the agent you think you're using. So yeah, I think it's a perfectly good use case.
Do you think that blockchains actually have, right now, the way they work at the moment, do you think they're capable of providing, are they fast enough and to deliver, at the pace that these AIs agents, meaning, like the execution for these real-time use cases of AI?
I think it depends on what you're trying to do. Anything meaningful still takes a long processing time from an AI, right? So it might take you a minute or two to get even a relatively basic answer from something like Grok. So I don't think most chains, perhaps with the the opposite example being Bitcoin, which is probably too slow for LLMs. But Flare, for instance, is fine. Solana is fine. Ripple's fine. XRP Ledger's fine. These are all fast enough for where we are currently with AI. And I'm not sure. I really don't think you would want to be using LLMs in high frequency trading right now.
Yeah.
I think you're much more robust infrastructure than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe in the future.
Yeah, I think I actually see like a value in using blockchains, or at least ledger technology, to improve the things that I find difficult about the idea of using a single LLM to manage my money. We have a whole concept of which we've actually published a small basic paper of something we call consensus learning, which is where you're not trusting one LLM. You may not be trusting any LLMs. You may be using 10 or 15 different types of machine learning out. But I think that's very interesting avenues to pursue.
Flare itself, well, not just Flare, but just generally layer 2s have become the sort of the interaction layer for users. They've become more sort of user-centric, and layer 1s are becoming this sort of settlement layer. Do you think that this will lead to layer 1s becoming sort of less valued or even invisible to users in the future?
I mean, ultimately, I would say at the end point of blockchain, the whatever it is invisible, right? It's a crap experience. So, I think people are worried about it becoming invisible because the token is a brand, and the blockchain is a brand, and people want token price to be good, and so therefore they want the brand to be recognizable.
Yes.
Which is kind of obvious, but I actually think over time, like one of your later questions will deal with it, but the answer I'll give then is I think ultimately you don't want to be hidebound to your native token having value only because of it being a brand related to a chain.
Yes.
You want it to have organic economic value, and that means at some point changing the way the token works, something we're exploring with regards to fees and how native token effectively what its place in the ecosystem is, because we know that transaction fees essentially unlikely to bring excessive value to the token over the long term.
So we've seen Ethereum L1 fees drop, and we've seen L2 fees virtually go to zero. But while this is great for the users, what we're finding is that it's difficult for infrastructure providers to provide network incentives for their users. So how do you think we can find a workaround without resorting to high token inflation?
So I think, you had a period a while back where Ethereum was neutral on inflation. Well, in fact, I think it had like basically negative inflation, and they were calling it ultrasound money. And that's because the transaction fees were so expensive that they were effectively burning more than they were printing. And that was great for a period, but the transaction fees were high, and the world then found another solution, which was L2s, right? And so the transaction fees were no longer beyond the inflation rate, right? So I don't think transaction fees by themselves are the route to sustainability. And obviously, over the long term, high inflation cannot be a route to sustainability, because the inflation is simply a tax on the rest of the token holders over the long term. And so I think you have to change the way the model works. And I think there's vast amounts of economic activity happening on these chains. And I think that the native token has to accrue value from that economic activity, some percentage, some very small percentage of economic value from the financial activity that's happening on the chain. I don't think there's another way around it, really. Because you can't have, over the long run, cannot have validators being economically suboptimal.
And we've seen that sort of play out with Leon's already, with the token prices just being driven up.
Yeah, I mean, I think in XRP you have a very different situation where people run validators either because it benefits their business. So if you look at a wallet like Saman, they run validators and they run huge amounts of infrastructure. But that's because they have a business that is kind of attached to that validator, and being able to validate the network and also have very high quality nodes is of value to Saman. So I think that's a very interesting model. It's not a model that's been replicated successfully anywhere else. And also within the XRP community, you have lots of just enthusiasts who run validators for their own enjoyment.
Yeah. Even
if they're not making money from it, but they're definitely not making money from it. They're spending money on it, but they're contributing to the ecosystem. It's not a model we felt that we could, coming from scratch much later than XRP, that we could replicate. We think that we're going to have to go a different route to make Flare sustainable.
With the MiCA becoming fully enforceable and the Genius Act shaping a lot of the US markets at the moment, there seems to be a push, a regulatory sort of push for visibility of data flows, cross-border data flows. So how do you think we can balance this verifiability with privacy, and do you think that can actually realistically be achieved?
And I think the assets that traditionally are regulated, I think it was always a fool's errand to believe that this wouldn't happen. So stocks, bonds, all that kind of stuff, right? Always was going to happen. Stablecoins are a different question. I think certainly Europe's become complicated on stablecoins. Do I think that they can continue as is? I think de facto they will, because it's really hard to stop them. Do I think that where they're used by institutions, there will need to be strong accounting, potentially privacy, and all these kind of things? Absolutely. And I think that's desirable. I think you wish to have stablecoins are centralized anyway, so why we're not trying to defend some kind of crypto libertarian utopian viewpoint here over an asset that is effectively an issued version of a centralized currency, fiat currency. So I think whatever rules are imposed is what's necessary. I hope that the rules do not introduce friction that is unnecessary.
Yeah,
because I think that's bad for the markets, and it's ultimately it'll be bad for the US dollar.
Yeah, and I think everybody is agrees with that we welcome regulation as long as it's not hindering the growth of the technology, but also not adding more confusion.
I hope that Tether's like pretty much one of the largest bond holders in the for US debt now, and I hope they don't do something to damage that position, because it's
quite scary.
That would be insane.
Bridges have been like the thorn inside of crypto industry as a whole, and historically have been the most exploited sort of protocols out there. So what we're finding is that native interoperability models are emerging. Do you think that's going to render traditional bridges obsolete? And what do you think, if that is the case, what do you think is going to happen with the capital that's locked into legacy bridge protocols?
I'd love to understand what you mean by native interoperability.
So basically what I mean is, rather than having to go to a third-party bridge, the network consensus can sort of validate the information, the data.
Oh, then Flare is definitely a native interoperability program. Network. Well, the whole point is the data is validated by the chain.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there aren't risks. There's always risks. You've got risks when you build any kind of protocol and the set of smart contracts that go with it. But yes, I mean, one of the reasons we built the native interoperability of course, it's not native from the XRP perspective, but from the XRP ledger's perspective, but it's native from Flare's perspective.
Okay.
Meaning we see out, but XRP ledger can't see back.
Right. Okay.
But one of the reasons we built that is we thought it was a better model, because we're able to rely on validators who are all contributing to the data and have large amounts at stake. It's much harder to do that as an external third-party service sitting between two chains, and then you end up with centralization. That said, Layer 0 has been extremely successful because they've made the UX and UI of bridging really nice. So they've been unbelievably successful with their OFT model. I don't necessarily see them going away. So I think it's going to be a hybrid. Layer 0, for instance, cannot attach to XRP ledger, cannot attach to a non-smart contract chain, has to have smart contracts, otherwise their model doesn't work. So I think for like routings like non-smart contract to smart contract network, there's a lot of value in what Flare does, especially with regards to XRP ledger. For smart contract chain routings, I think, Layer 0 is pretty hard to sort of to beat at this point. I suppose that's my take on where bridging is.
Okay. And then what do you think will happen if with the capital that's locked in these legacy bridges, if you think do you think that it's going to become more common, this sort of
I think
native?
I think there were a lot of bridges around, and I think Layer 0 ate a lot of those. But then I think there's other bridges like Wrapped Bitcoin, which is a centralized bridge, effectively using a custodian. That's still, to my knowledge, the most successful Bitcoin bridge. Pretty much the only major one. I would like to be able to say that Flare will be able to replace Wrapped Bitcoin as a native interoperability protocol, at which point, people would simply redeem Wrapped Bitcoin and create units of FBTC at some point. Although frankly, we're pretty focused on XRP for the foreseeable future. So
there's going to make so much money.
I don't know if there's going to be a sea change. Is I think my take. Were there to be a sea change, I think capital flows relatively easily.
We're seeing financial institutions like JP Morgan set up their own sort of permissionless data networks. How do you think this is going to sort of play out, and do you think it sort of goes against the vision or challenges the vision of unified global liquidity on public infrastructure?
I mean, I think that's happened anyway with all the multiple chains there are. And I think we're further away from having one chain that rules them all than we were a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Because I think Ethereum's stumbled fundamentally. They've stumbled with their L2s and they've stumbled with their L1. And they've let people like Solana come along and take some of their market share and others. And of course, then there's whole other ecosystems like XRP. So I was never a believer that there would ever be one chain to rule them all and one global pool of non-fragmented liquidity. What I do think is that I think it's a mistake to create a totally permissioned chain where you have to credentialize to use it. Because I think it's just a barrier to entry, and it effectively is just like a different set of rails for the same activity that's already happening. I don't think that's interesting fundamentally. I think there'll be examples of it. I think there'll be examples where JP Morgan trades with their trading partners through their own stack. I think that's logical. If you remember back when consensus was a big thing, there were lots of like permissioned chains in the early days that didn't pan out. I think these ones that are run by people like JP Morgan and maybe entities like Canton, they will end up serving purpose. But I still think the ability for liquidity to flow, unimpeded through public chains provides effectively the use case for this technology. So I think it'll be a hybrid of both.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a more realistic solution, doesn't it?
for instance, Flare is working on compute layer. As part of that compute layer, we're building something called protocol managed wallets. Protocol managed wallets allows a protocol that is built on Flare to control a wallet on another chain, let's say XRP Ledger. Now, XRP Ledger has recently displaced Solana as a bigger RWA chain in terms of the rankings. XRP Ledger does not have the same kind of programmability as either Solana, nor does it have the privacy that Canton offers. So what I'm really excited by, especially with the new escrow feature that has been created on XRP Ledger, is the ability for those RWA assets that are issued on the XRP Ledger to be utilized in Flare's compute layer with privacy and compliance.
Great, thank you for telling us that. So when is that going to be released?
So that's quite a long-term project. I think, the first components of that will start being released between mid-year and end of year.
Okay.
So, it's not a trivial project.
Yeah, it's a big feat. So look forward to hearing more about that next time we meet, hopefully. And speaking of next time we meet, do you think if we were to chat again in a couple of years' time, do you think that interoperability is still going to be a discussion point, or do you think we would have sort of tackled it and it would be fully embedded to the point where developers aren't explicitly talking about it anymore?
I think it's really hard to imagine there's going to be one standard for interoperability. Sort of never pans out that way.
No.
Maybe with like Swift messaging, they all got the heads of the major banks together in one room and someone bullied them to create a universal standard for bank messaging. It's much harder in, the decentralized world. It's a bit like herding cats. I think there'll be a couple of standards. I'd like Flare to be kind of one of them for tokens like XRP.
Brilliant. But yeah, that brings us to the end of the interview. And thank you so much for your time today and your lovely answers. They were very enlightening. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope it was interesting.
It was. Thank you.
Right, there we go. So I'm going to hang out in Discord for a little bit. I'm gonna shoot the video that I'm planning on shooting once the markets are closer to closing. So I'll probably shoot that video around 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I'll just kind of be hanging out for a little bit. If you guys want to pop in, it's gonna be real casual. I'm gonna be playing some video games. So, dang, this thing's rising. This thing is rising, you guys. I'll basically shoot the video. It's gonna be what I already did in the first half of this stream, just as a very fast, it'd probably be a 10-15 minute video. It kind of go boom, 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 boom. So thanks to everyone who stuck through that. We just watched a Hugo Fillion interview. It was kind of long, kind of slow, but yeah, it's good stuff. I was gonna watch it anyways. It could have been a little bit higher volume in my opinion, but in any case, I'm gonna take out of here. If you guys want to hang out in Discord, I'll be very casually hanging out in the live channel. So thanks for hopping in, and I'll see you guys next week. By the way, link to the Discord is pinned above, so if you aren't in there already, check me out there. I'll be on Discord. I'll see you guys